Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm live on YouTube. I'll just post this link. And I just need to get us live on Telegram. Which should be underway now. Okay, I'm live on Divergent as well, so I should be live everywhere. Good. Let me just launch. So the Dow is fairly well contained within the overnight trading range. Let's look at the Nasdaq. And the market will be opening in approximately 30 seconds. Right, I think we'll be trading that in £4 and we'll be trading this in £2, and I need to just get those charts over on my other screen as well. Oh. So good morning, America, and there we go. I'm live everywhere. Good morning, America. I hope you're well. I'm gonna start commenting in a second. I think I'd like to bring up the S&P 500 as well. It seemed to strike a chord with some people yesterday. So we have a gap down situation on the Nasdaq. You may recall that we had that yesterday as well. and then we had a big rally. If you're interested, I can show you what that looks like on a different trading platform. So here's the S&P 500, and it is currently trading at 5948, which is about here. So this is just the regular trading hour. And if we look at the Nasdaq is currently trading at 21,351. Which is about, call it here. So this is without the overnight session. Just right now. Let me look at that on a 10-minute chart instead. And let's get rid of this. And let's make that moving average a little less conspicuous. There we go. That's a bit better. So that's the state of affairs in the Nasdaq and in the S&P 500. Gap down. And the first bar is a positive bar. And if you're interested, Nasdaq is gap down. I think S&P 500 is gap down, but the Dow is not gap down. The Dow is pretty much where it closed last night. I don't know what you're looking at, but I think this the overnight range low down at 21,318 is interesting. We could also go and look at, so we're currently trading around here, 33, 30. Just for a second, let me just get rid of this for a second. If we looked at this, how would you analyze it? Well, we're sitting below this low here. We have a low down here, which is at 21,303. That's sort of the first consolidation after the very big move up. Then the gap filled. If you want, don't know whether it achieves anything, but if you want, we could try and put a Fibonacci in, just for laughs. So the low would be a 50% retracement would be at 21,302. I wonder if I was going to say, is this a measured move? But I can almost tell that it's not, because it's too big. So the Dow is trading lower, so is the Nasdaq. So is 21,302 a likely area? Well, so far we've hit 21,316. So as we are trading lower, perhaps that would be a plausible place. However, it seems as if the traders are looking at the overnight session low. So bar 1 on the 15-minute, or bar number 2, which has gone down and taken out the overnight low by approximately 1 point, and traders immediately stepped in and started buying there. Okay, so it's a fairly conventional approach. You're looking at the overnight range, and you're saying, well, I want to be at the low end. I want to be a buyer at the low end. There was someone asked Tim Fairweather a question earlier today in a broadcast he did. The question was, do you pay attention to support and resistance from the overnight session, or do you pay attention to the support and resistance that is created as a result of the previous day's swings? And unfortunately, I wasn't able to hear what Tim had to say, but I liked the question, because I've never been a big fan of taking the overnight session into account. However, I feel that my mind has been changed on that subject. I think that the overnight session does create support and resistance that traders respect when they trade the US markets, and indeed the European markets. So those who were buyers at or had orders resting at 18, well, they're celebrating with a really quick victory. The Dow has not been able to get that low, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You may recall yesterday how the Dow was leading the way, whilst the Nasdaq and the S&P were much slower on the take-up. I remember very vividly a trader that I respected. I don't know his real name, because everything back then was just, you had these monikers. Is that what it's called? A moniker, when you make up a name, like, Bad Boy 3 or something like, or whatever. I'm trying to think of a moniker for myself. What would that be? Danish Viking or something like that, something stupid. And he went under the name, I'm saying the name because there may be some people in here who will recognize his name. His name was Tepit, or Tepit72. And he was an incredibly knowledgeable trader, and was good at passing on information. He had this concept that he called the first touch. And I think that's relevant to just discuss here, because the first touch of the overnight range at 318 held, and he would argue that's great, but if we come down here again, I wouldn't bet on it on the second time around. So that's what he called the first touch. It would seem that on this occasion, we actually did have a 317 and then had a 320. And we are now well, actually, it seems on the 1 minute chart we're settling into an early trading range. I don't think it's going to be a trading range, but not without probing the highs at 380, or potentially even probing the lows down here at 302 in this area here. And if we really begin to gain traction below this area here, well, then it does open for retracement all the way back. But here's perhaps a daily chart is a better way of looking at it, if you can see above and beyond all my scribbles. So the code for the Dow is YM, and then if you put that you just that hashtag, you get continuous futures, and equal to means you only get the session, the regular trading hour session. But the problem here is that this is a futures market as opposed to a cash market. So the price that you're seeing here is a cash market price. But I'm sure that I could attempt to make a conversion. I don't know if TD has Dow futures. Maybe they do. Let me just have a look. Dow futures June. I'll just put that there. So you can see that there's about a 90-point difference, it would seem. Oh. So we're currently trading at 692 on the cash market. So by my reckoning, that would be make it 780 on this chart here. So that would be about here. So incidentally, that low that we are seeing on the overnight market in the Dow down here, the overnight range here, that 3 has just touched. Well, that also coincides with lows seen during the regular trading session yesterday in the Dow here. Here and here. A double bottom. Oh, stupid chart. Okay, so that sort of gives us an idea of what we are dealing with here today. So maybe just as normal, be patient. We had a very strong day yesterday. You could almost compare yesterday to 2 days ago on the 15th, where we have a gap down. We also had a gap down here. If I sort of draw some comparisons and get rid of this. So yesterday we had a gap down, filled the gap sideways for quite a while, and then we saw a big push higher and settled near the highs. Well, on the 15th, we had a gap down, filled the gap sideways for quite a while, and then a push towards the close. But as you can see, the following day, there was a lot of back and two. All right, down, up, back down again, settle into a trading range. And that trading range lasted about 2.5 hours, after which the market began to rally. Now, what's happening now here is that the Nasdaq is declining down to 302, and you may recall that from here. You see this 302. So, do we want to be a buyer down here? Well, this is probably the area, if there is support, it will be found down here. So yeah, I probably would like to be a buyer down here. So please stand by. I'm buying the Nasdaq here. There's my position monitor. I don't need a 150 point stop loss, but what I have essentially done here is I've taken a chance to buy down here around the 50% retracement, not because it's the 50% retracement, but because I'm thinking that this area here could be an interesting place to be a buyer, unless I think that the market is going to go all the way back down to the lows, and I don't think I am believing in that. So I'm already 16 odd points in profit. So let me modify the stop loss to something a little more sensible. What do you think that we should risk basis on this chart here? When we're looking at this chart here, we just bought down here. Maybe we should put a stop loss here. What would that be at? About 250. And where did I buy? I bought at 295. So I could put a stop loss at 45 points away. Save. Okay. And let's see how that goes. So what I'm attempting to do here is to explain the context of the regular trading hours versus what I'm seeing when I'm just watching and observing an overnight chart. And the same here in the Dow. The Dow went as low as 42,640. Now, if we add 90 points to that, that would give us 640 plus 90 is 730. So if we look at the Dow, YM pound F equal to, if we're looking at the Dow, then what did I say, 740, 730, that would be roughly down here. Is that a decent place? Well, I don't know if it's as decent. What we do know is that it sort of coincides with the overnight range. But if we're looking at it in the context of yesterday, well, maybe this level here doesn't make so much sense. Maybe this level down here would be more interesting, which incidentally is about 100 points lower than where we are right now. Yeah. Maybe you would argue that this is because you have the old resistance and there's some support here, and maybe you're right. Perhaps I don't feel as strongly about it as I feel about the Nasdaq. We can do exactly the same for the SPX if you want to. So here's the SPX, and that's the cash index, and then we can look at where's the SPX right now at 5935. 5935, so it's about there. How low did it go? It went down to 5933, so this will do. Do we think that this is a meaningful place to have a low in the S&P? Nah, perhaps I'd be more keen on being a buyer below 29. Yeah, on this 10-minute chart. But hey, so far it seems as if we're onto a good thing here. We have 40 points in profit in the Nasdaq, so that's not a bad thing. So we can move stop loss up to break even now. then that's not such a bad entry. Of course, everybody knows that if I had a moniker or a pseudonym, it would be Cupcake. You're right there, Cupcake, or Butterbean. Now tell me what your less flattering moniker would be. So I'm not expecting much from today, apart from trading range. So I'm going to do something that you may disagree with, but I'm going to take partial profit here. I don't feel like adding today. I'm actually a little bit tired today. I might as well just be honest. I don't think that's because of the tick. I don't think it works that. Don't worry, it's not like that. I'm just, yeah. Well, look, I don't mind telling you if you're interested, or like, it's not like it's democracy, but I have ordered one of these health tests where you take saliva swabs during the day, and today was the day I decided to go and do this, and you have to take various urine tests and throughout the day. But the thing is, you're not really allowed to eat much or drink much during this test day, and I'm actually feeling it a little bit. I think throughout the day, for someone who drinks as much water as I am, I've only drunk about a pint of water, and I'm feeling a bit, whoa, man, I feel thirsty. But fortunately, in about an hour, I can drink some more. So you're just gonna have to put up with me. I know you put up with me a lot, and I appreciate that. I like to think that in return I'm giving you something of value, but I do appreciate that you do put up with me, and then it's like fucking tick alarm, and then it's like, yeah. So at times I do feel, or I wonder if people think I'm a bit of a prima donna, and of course I hope I'm not, but you never quite know what people do think about you. I like to think I'm creating value and something that is educationally worth tuning into, but sometimes even I gotta admit, come on, Tom, a little less drama here. So I closed half my position, and I did that because we were approaching the top end of the previous candle on the 15-minute chart. And you'll also be mindful that we're coming up to the school run. I would probably take the rest of my position off if we got above 360, 364. I don't think I would have done that if I had if I was with my full 5 faculties. I think I would have been more inclined to add. Do you not find that at times there are times when you are more prone to being an aggressive adding to your position than other times you're just quite happy to just to, take it easy? Anyway, that's how I feel. I hope that you found it useful to bring in the overnight chart versus just the regular trading hour chart. It's not something that I have written about. It's just something that, so you're sort of along the lines when you're doing research. Because very often when I sit and I do self-directed research, I will ask myself questions such as, let me give you an example, just what my curiosity, how that would at times guide me. I would ask myself a question such as, why is the market stopping there? What's the reason for that high there? And what's the reason for that high there? Why is the market pausing there? And they're just simple questions. And I know the answer that I find could be luck that just applies to that one day. At other times, I would find things that actually generally work. So for example, you probably already spotted that this move from here to here. If I give it a slightly different color, a bit of a more funky color. Actually, let me just, there's a function here where you show something where you type trend line, use outline outline to show. I don't want to do that. That's not what I want. I want, is it this one? Draw lines on top. That's the one. So this move here and this move here is what one could call a measured move, or some people call it an ABCD. So that would probably explain why this would be the high. But why is this high the high? And now I haven't got an obvious answer for you, but it is just how my research, my self-prepared research, is driving my my research. My God, I'm waffling. Sorry. So the short answer, it's essentially curiosity. The Nasdaq position is not doing very well, or wasn't doing as well as when we got out. Oh shoot, I forgot to post this in Telegram. I'm so sorry. I was just so in the flow of educating that I forgot all about posting it in Telegram. Sorry. Okay, so that was bar number 2 on the 15-minute chart. Let's have a look at the same in the Dow. Another reason why I took profit was because, as I showed you a little earlier, today reminds me of what we saw a few days ago, where we had a gap down, and then the gap got filled, and then actually was it this one? I think it was in the Dow that was a better example, but we filled the gap and then we traded sideways for quite a while. The entry of 295, I think, was a decent entry. Decent because other traders saw it as well. Let's not forget that. So in the Dow, I'd like to point out that on a 15-minute chart, we're trading inside the overnight range. So if we trade above 748, and we're currently trading just 10 points away, the school run will dictate a long, but actually the ante, because we are inside the overnight range, would be dictating a short. I don't know if you saw this with the DAX earlier. I had to stop abruptly because I had a fucking bloodsucker. But maybe you'll just allow me to show you. And full disclosure, I did not trade it and I didn't comment on it. Where did you go? There's the box. So, I remember something now. Yeah, okay. I remember a trade that I did. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What I would love to show you is if I don't use the cursor, but I just use the bar count. Bar number 1 is where the market opens. And you should be able to see that in gray writing. Bar number 2 is the school run bar. But do you see how bar number 3 goes above bar number 2 and triggers a school run long? But here's the interesting part, is that when the school run triggers a long, but that long is triggered below the overnight range box that you're seeing to the left, then it should be traded as an anti, or do the opposite. By that point, I had left the building. I wonder though what I would have called. Would I have followed the school run or would I have followed the anti? I guess we'll never know. It's always easier afterwards than saying, oh, I would have done that, but I don't want to be like that. I'll readily admit, I wonder what I would have done and how I would have read it. So we're coming up. We had a high of 48 in the Dow, and then the next bar was 47. So just 1 point. And traders are perhaps expecting a sideways market after yesterday's big push. Do you see how the S&P 500 is quite far away from its 15-minute high? And so is the Nasdaq. So the fact that the Dow is actually testing that, there's probably a better chance that the Dow will push higher towards 792. Because relatively, comparatively to the respective bars, bar number 2 on the 15, but in the Nasdaq, well, the Nasdaq is 30 points off the S&P. Well, the high is 48, and it's getting closer now. So perhaps we should not be in a rush to just bet against the Dow just yet, because it's the one of the 3 indices that is the strongest. It has filled the gap. Nasdaq is quite far below yesterday's closing price, and so is the S&P. I think I'm going to take profit in the Nasdaq now. There we go. I've closed it. I got no open positions. Should be able to see what I've done. 2 Nasdaq trades, or sorry, 1 Nasdaq trade. Perhaps in recognition that the Nasdaq is not as strong. Those of you who took the anti, you're happy. I didn't take it, as you could see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been one of those days where I seem to... yesterday was a good afternoon, but a less so morning, although I made back what I lost from the morning in the afternoon. It's been a good trading day today. Did make money in the DAX and did make money in... No, I didn't make money in the FTSE. Yeah, I did make a bit. So anyway, I should be in much better form tomorrow, but I am glad that I got a good Nasdaq trade in. But perhaps what I'm more happy about is how I explained how it came to be NDX. And so here it is. That's a slightly better explanation of why we bought the Nasdaq around 21,295, because this was the lows down here. All the market did was to clear out these bunch of double bottoms here. I was a buyer here, and well, I think the low of the day was 286, and I got in at 295, and I got out at some of it at 250. Is that what I got out? And the rest of it at 220. Let's have a look. 252 on half and 232 on the other. So it's okay. So I think I'm going to say thank you very much, and I shall carry on probing all my body parts. And that does sound naughty. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. But they want their pound of saliva and are the things we do for eternal youth. All I'm asking is, when the hell does it start working? Many thanks here. Many thanks for being here today. It was lovely to trade with you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much. All the very best. Bye bye for today.